So I'm going to jump the gun a little bit with Memphis because I think they're going to make the playoffs and then lose to the Lakers in round one. So why not project towards their offseason now? Because there's not too many topics to go around right now, man. We're still in a waiting area with the NBA. There's even some more doubt of whether we're going to play. But talking about Memphis a little bit. So the first thing to think about, I would say, is the improvement from the team itself, more so than before we get into the money and the draft picks and all that stuff. What does year 2 for Ja Morant look like? I don't know. It'll probably be cool. Is he going to gain some weight? Because the guy attacks the rim like a crazy person. And I would imagine 174 pounds, he's not going to hold up doing that. So that's step one. Not that we expect that to be a finished thing by next year, but we can start going in that direction. I think that'd be good. I do want to do a video strictly on Ja Morant and projecting his next season, but some of that's just going to bleed into here. I can't avoid it. Other things to think about, shooting more threes, probably. I mean, if we look at Morant's shot attempts, my favorite thing to look at, apparently, I do this every day now, it feels like. About 16% of his shots are mid-rangers. He's honestly not bad at them. And his floaters are cool. He's about 40% on floaters. Shooting more threes and being better at them would certainly help all this out. I mean, his overall efficiency, it's good. It's 57% true shooting, but I mean, this guy looks like a star. So I'm going to think about him in the sense of, well, how can he get there? And it would probably be through a few more free throws and threes and all that. I mean, Ja, he had a hell of a rookie season. I don't want to act as if, well, okay, what can you do for me now? Like, he's great. Okay, Ja Morant is awesome. With Jaren Jackson, less fouls. That's all I got for you. Less fouls, and I think the rest of his game will really open up because his threes were awesome this year. His form looks awkward as hell, but it goes in. He seems like he really could be molding into the defend every position guy who can also shoot threes. And if he can really get to that point, then that's a hell of a player. Now, I guess the rebounding could still be a question. Now, the Grizzlies don't fall off a cliff when Jaren is in there rebounding-wise. I think a lot of that's because of Valanciunas, and I don't know. I feel like Jaren as of right now, I like the him with Valanciunas thing, and maybe he can be a center at some point, or a full-time center. He's definitely played some center this year. As far as the rest of the team is concerned, we of course have Brandon Clarke, who is the floater god. What did he shoot on floaters? This is my favorite stat of the year. He shot 50% from 3 to 10 feet. The guy's just amazing. 52% from 10 to 16 feet, 40% on long twos, 40% from 3, 78% at the rim. He just doesn't miss. He sets screens, he cuts off the ball, he's got some like 1 or 2 dribble things off of somebody else helping him out a little bit, you know, Ja Morant, like creating the initial play so the defense has to react to him, and then Brandon Clarke he finishes it every single time. Defensively, he looks good as well. I think the only real question for Clarke is where can his shooting and his ball handling go? And he already projects to be good on both. I think another question is, can we get him some more minutes? He averaged 22 minutes a game. I feel like he's got to be one of those dudes who, like, he's coming off the bench, but he plays like 30 minutes a night. That will be interesting to see, you know, because in a perfect world, you want Ja, Jaren, and Brandon Clarke out there at the same time. But to do that, you're either putting Brandon Clarke at the 3 or you're putting Jaren Jackson at center. And something to notice is that if I look at the Grizzlies lineup data, the lineup of Valanciunas, Jaren Jackson, and Brandon Clarke played 0 minutes together. So not a lot of Brandon Clarke at the 3 with the 2 bigs in there. As for the rest of the team, I mean, honestly, getting Valanciunas in the Marc Gasol deal has been kind of amazing for them. You could argue Valanciunas, he's probably a little overpaid, sure. But it's been good. Seriously. It's been legit for him. And as far as Dylan Brooks is concerned, he can make shots. They re-signed him on a good deal. It's a nice signing. They've got Justice Winslow, and I did a video on that, and we'll have to see on Winslow. But the foundation's pretty good. Now, I will say, them trading away Jay Crowder, I wouldn't be shocked if that ended up being worse for them than they initially thought. Like, I don't think Crowder is some awesome player, but he definitely made a difference for them. So we'll have to see there. If we move on to the front office stuff, the money, the draft, whatever else. So I think they're going to make the playoffs, which would mean they would get... And they're probably going to finish with a better record than the Magic and the Nets. So, 17th pick? Which means I'm pretty sure the pick will be going to the Celtics. On Real GM, it says if it finishes between number 7 and number 30, it goes to the Celtics. So, yeah, that pick will be gone. So that's a loss of an asset. And you can blame the Jeff Green trade from a million years ago at this point for that one. That being said, there's some other interesting things with Memphis and trades they can make. I do want to say, first off, with their money, they don't really have room to do anything. They're pretty much capped out. They're at $113 million, and that's it. There's not a whole lot they can do. I mean, maybe they'll have a mid-level when the cap goes down, and you could get yourself something. If we think about what they really need, I mean, Tyus Jones is an okay enough backup point guard. I think between Valanciunas and Jaren Jackson, they're not desperate for a backup 5. I feel like they could just use a nice enough wing who can come off the bench and do a little bit for them. Make some threes, play some defense, maybe do like 2 plays off the dribble a game. Something like that. Some boring, but overall pretty okay move. The other thing to think about, though, is if they could pull off a trade of any kind. They do have Gorgie Dang's expiring of $17 million. Next year will be the last year of that contract. I do not think they should give up any of their young guys. That's a non-starter, but between him and then some picks they do have Utah. They've got a Utah pick that is probably going to convey probably in 2022, unless the Jazz don't make the playoffs in 2021. And then they've also got this Warriors pick that's very interesting because it doesn't start until 2024. And I know things are going great for Golden State, but if we fast forward 4 years, who the hell knows? I mean, the Grizzlies may be sitting on a hell of a draft pick, and we just don't really know it yet. But the point being, they've got some assets, and they've got an expiring contract. So if Memphis wanted to make some sort of a splash, they've got something. It's not amazing, but they got something. I mean, we'll say, I know I just said, well, they shouldn't give up any of their young dudes, but let's just say some star wants out, and you can give a team Gorgie Dang. We'll say Dylan Brooks is having an awesome year. He's averaging like 17 a game, which isn't ridiculous. He averaged 15 this year. He's looking good. He's on a great contract. And then you do the Jazz pick for whoever the hell doesn't like their current situation. I mean, you think about Oladipo right now and his thing going on with the Pacers. And if you force me to pick, I do think Oladipo will be in Indiana for a while. But if for whatever reason it goes south, could the Grizzlies be the type of team that could get Oladipo and use some of that stuff that I just named? It'll be interesting to see. But that's kind of it. I mean, a lot of it's going to be player development. We've got to see if Taylor Jenkins is really a good coach. I think he did a good job this year. I think the real evaluation for him begins next season. So yeah, they're good. They're going in the right direction. I don't think next season is a playoffs or bust year for the Grizzlies. I mean, it's going to be Ja Morant's second season. Like, we don't have to go that crazy. But let's think about it. And it's very difficult to make a prediction like that right now. I did a video on it. I don't think that video was very good. Like, I forgot about OKC completely and whatever else. But if we think about it, it's going to be tough to make the playoffs in the West next year, especially when you take into account the Blazers are going to be healthy and the Warriors are going to be back in the mix. You're going to be competing with the Pelicans, as the Grizzlies already were this year. It's going to be tough. You know, you look at the 8 playoff teams right now. Is there a prime candidate to not be a contender next year? I mean, maybe OKC if they trade Chris Paul. We don't know if they're going to do that. And if you force me to pick one team to not make it, even if they don't have a huge shakeup, maybe the Jazz, just because Conley might be even worse next season, you know what I mean? But even then, Utah should still be good. So if I've got to pick right now, I don't think the Grizzlies will make the playoffs next year. But even then, I'm not super confident in that. They're going to be right in the mix with a whole bunch of other teams. So yeah, they're good. That's the point to take away. Ja Morant's good. Jaren Jackson's good. And, actually, I forgot to mention,